As a manager, you make two fundamentally different types of production decisions. Some decisions are about turning the dials on your existing factory floor, hiring a few more workers for the holiday rush, or ordering more raw materials for a big order. These are short-run decisions, focused on optimizing the resources you already have. Other decisions are about redesigning the factory itself, building a new plant, investing in a new technology, or scaling your entire operation. These are long-run decisions, focused on defining the future capacity and capability of your business. Two powerful economic laws govern these two horizons. For the short run, we have the law of variable proportions, or the laws of return. For the long run, we have returns to scale. Understanding the difference is critical. It's the difference between operating efficiently today and building a competitive business for tomorrow. This masterclass will equip you to master both. Define. The law of variable proportions states that as you add successive units of a variable input, like labor, to a fixed amount of other inputs, like capital, the total output will at first increase at an increasing rate, then at a diminishing rate, and finally, it will decline. An animation shows a single, fixed assembly line. Workers, variable input, are added one by one. Explain. This law is the cornerstone of short-run production analysis. Imagine you have a single workshop with a fixed number of machines. You can't change the size of the workshop or the number of machines overnight. The only dial you can turn is the number of workers. This law tells you exactly what will happen to your output as you turn that dial. It unfolds in three distinct stages, which we analyze using three key metrics: total product, TP, the overall output, marginal product, MP, the additional output from one more worker, and average product, AP, the output per worker. Define. The first stage is governed by the law of increasing returns. As the initial units of a variable input are added to fixed inputs, the marginal product of the variable input increases. Explain. Why does this happen? The primary reason is the indivisibility of the fixed factor. Your expensive machinery is designed for a certain scale and is being underutilized. Think of a large bakery with only one baker. They are stretched thin, doing everything. As you add a second and third baker, they can specialize. One kneads, one bakes, one packages. This division of labor and better utilization of the fixed oven leads to a synergistic jump in productivity. Each new worker adds more to the total output than the previous one. This is also where the marginal product curve rises, pulling the average product curve up with it. Managerial lens. Operating in stage 1 is inefficient from a capital perspective. While your marginal product is rising, it's a clear signal that your expensive fixed assets are not being used to their full potential. The strategic imperative here is to keep adding your variable input to move out of this stage as quickly as possible. You are essentially growing into your fixed costs, and each new hire makes your entire operation more efficient. Define. The second stage is governed by the law of diminishing returns. As you continue to add units of the variable factor to the fixed factors, the marginal product of the variable factor begins to decrease. Explain. This is the most important stage for any manager. The synergy from the first stage has been exhausted. Now the fixed factor, the bakery's space and oven capacity, starts to become a constraint. While adding more bakers still increases the total number of loaves produced, the bakery gets more crowded. Each new baker adds less to the total output than the one before. This is not a sign of failure. It is an inevitable physical law of production. A key point to note is that the marginal product curve will intersect the average product curve at the point where average product is at its maximum. Managerial lens. Stage 2 is the rational zone of production. Your job is not to avoid diminishing returns, but to manage within them. The goal is to find the sweet spot. If your goal is maximum efficiency per worker, you would operate where average product is at its peak. However, if your goal is maximum profit, you will continue to hire as long as the revenue from the marginal product of the last worker hired is still greater than their wage. Define. The third stage is governed by the law of negative returns. Adding further units of a variable input causes total output to fall, making the marginal product negative. Explain. You have now added so many bakers to the kitchen that they are getting in each other's way. There's too much congestion, communication breaks down, and they start making mistakes. Logistical bottlenecks appear. The addition of one more baker doesn't just add nothing to output, they actively disrupt the process and cause total production to fall. Total product, which peaked at the end of stage 2, now begins to decline. Managerial lens. Operating in stage 3 is economically irrational. You are paying for an input that is costing you output. It is a sign of gross mismanagement. A manager must have clear monitoring systems, tracking output per worker, error rates, and floor congestion, to ensure the operation never, ever enters this zone. If you find yourself here, the immediate action is to reduce your variable inputs until you are back in the rational zone of stage 2. Define. Returns to scale describe how total output responds when all inputs are changed by the same proportion. This is a long-run concept because it assumes you have the time to change everything: your labor, your machinery, and the size of your factory. Explain. This isn't about adding one more worker to an existing line. It's about asking, what happens if we build a second factory identical to our first? Or, what if we double our entire budget for both capital and labor? The answer tells you about the ultimate scalability of your business model and is directly linked to the shape of your long-run average cost curve. Define. A firm exhibits increasing returns to scale when a proportional increase in all inputs results in a more than proportional increase in output. Explain. IRS is the holy grail of growth. It's driven by powerful forces like economies of scale. These can be technical economies from using larger, more efficient machinery, managerial economies from hiring specialist managers for finance, marketing, and operations, financial economies from getting better loan terms as a larger company, and marketing economies as the cost of a national ad campaign is spread over more units. Think of a cloud computing data center. Doubling the servers more than doubles the processing power due to network efficiencies. This corresponds to a downward-sloping long-run average cost curve. Managerial lens. If your business exhibits IRS, your strategic imperative is to grow. Expansion will lower your average costs per unit, making you more competitive. This justifies aggressive investment in scaling operations, capturing market share, and building a formidable cost advantage over smaller rivals. Define. Constant returns to scale occur when a proportional increase in all inputs results in an equally proportional increase in output. Explain. CRS implies a perfectly replicable and scalable business model. The underlying production process is so optimized that it can be cloned without any loss or gain in efficiency. This is the goal of most franchise operations, like a fast food chain or professional service firms that scale by adding new, independent teams. This corresponds to the flat minimum point of the long-run average cost curve. Managerial lens. With CRS, growth is predictable and sustainable. Your average costs remain constant as you expand. The strategic focus here is not on cost leadership through scale, but on maintaining quality, consistency, and brand reputation as you replicate your successful formula in new markets. It is a sign of a mature and optimized operation. Define. A firm faces decreasing returns to scale when a proportional increase in all inputs results in a less than proportional increase in output. Explain. DRS is a warning sign that a company has become too large or complex. It is caused by diseconomies of scale. As the organization grows, communication channels become clogged. Decision-making slows down. Layers of bureaucracy stifle innovation, and it becomes increasingly difficult to coordinate thousands of employees. The right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. This corresponds to an upward-sloping long-run average cost curve. Managerial lens. If you detect DRS, further expansion in your current form will destroy value. Your average costs will rise as you grow. The strategic response is not necessarily to stop growing, but to change your structure. This could involve decentralizing into smaller, more autonomous business units, aggressively automating processes to reduce managerial overhead, or divesting non-core operations to regain focus and efficiency. So let's bring it all together. The laws of return are your guide for the short run. They help you optimize the use of a variable input, like labor, against a fixed input, like your factory. It's about turning the operational dial to find the most efficient point in stage 2. It is a tactical decision. The image of the manager turning the dial on the machine is shown again. Returns to scale, on the other hand, are your guide for the long run. They inform your strategic decisions about the very size and structure of your company. It's about deciding whether to redraw the factory blueprint to be bigger, smaller, or just different. It is a strategic decision. A master manager uses both. They use the laws of return to run their current operations at peak efficiency, while simultaneously using their understanding of returns to scale to plan the future growth and structure of their enterprise. Mastering these two concepts gives you the power to optimize for today and build for tomorrow.